Hey, welcome everyone. We are going to start in a few seconds our hangout, and we are almost 2000 hours UTC. And this is a show that is every 2 weeks. We are today, April the 5th, 2015, and it's Easter Sunday for Christians around the world. I believe if you are from the Orthodox, I think, have Easter next week. But for most people, we have Easter. For a lot of Christians, actually, we have Easter on this Sunday today. And of course, I've got my Easter egg right here in that little box. I've got my little bunny rabbit, my Easter rabbit. He's going to be our companion for the Hangouts today. So he's my radio rabbit. And we are located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. That's northeast part of North America. Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we are having, every 2 weeks we have news, comments, we have all sorts of information about shortwave radio. We share loggings, we share, I answer questions and so on. So it's a great time to share information about shortwave radio. It is every 2 weeks at 2000 hours UTC, always on a Sunday. And so the next one is going to be on we're April the 5th, 12th, 19th, means we're going to be on the April 19th is going to be the next one at 2000 hours UTC. And it is always a pleasure to do these shows for everyone. For those that don't know how it works, actually, well, first of all, you have a few ways of joining us and asking questions or just say hi. There's email. You can send an email at officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. So it's officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. You can join my Twitter feed, which is at Shortwave Radios with an S at the end because there's many radios. So Shortwave Radios. And of course, you can post comments anywhere. You can. There's a question and answer tab. And I did not have enough time to test it well, but next week we'll have next show we'll have the official chat room that will be testing out on IPChat. It requires a free. From your part, it's going to require a free subscription. And to join it, I'll send links so I can keep control of the channel, the chat, and you guys will be able to chat. So coming in the next show, there's going to be a chat room for sure. Today we have all sorts of news. Of course, I'll be taking check-ins from anyone that's right now live. Counter is slowly getting higher and higher, so I'm waiting for that counter to show me a decent level of viewers. Also, so we're going to start with the news. I'm going to have the check-ins right after the news items that I want to talk about. And we're also going to answer any questions you might have about radio. Don't be shy. I am really, really happy to answer any questions about radio. And so we're going to check that out. So I've got, several computers. The main computer right here on my left is the one running the Hangout and also the questions and answer tab. The one on the right is my MacBook, where I have different pages of information that I want to use as I go through my Hangouts, including schedules from shortwave stations. And I also have a few things that I'm going to talk today. We're going to have a little focus or spotlight on a shortwave broadcaster. Today's spotlight is going to be on Radio Australia. We're going to talk a little bit about Radio Australia a little later on in the spotlight. I have a few questions in reserve that I've put down here because, with days and weeks in between the Hangouts, people send me a lot of questions. And some of them that I keep because I think it's interesting to answer live. Because, most of the time when you have a question, a lot of people have the same question. So, it's pretty cool. So let's start with, of course, the beer. Today's beer is Coup de Grisou. Coup de Grisou is a French-Canadian thing. A coup de Grisou is, you could say, like a mining accident or explosion. A coup de Grisou is, in mine workers have to be careful because, with all the dust and the gases inside mines, there's sometimes explosions. Just a spark can really make an explosion. That's why a lot of the times they'll keep, some mines will keep candles because it prevents the mine from actually getting enough gas to explode, and some also will have lots of ventilation. So that explosion that can happen in a mine is coup de grisou. That's what the beer is called, and it's a spicy beer. It's a spicy buckwheat beer, and actually it is very good. I just took my first sip just before the hangout. I'm really surprised at how good this beer tastes. So cheers, everyone, and I hope we're going to have a lot of fun in the hangout. First news item is we are in the A15 schedule season. So this is our first hangout for the summer schedules. And the summer schedules are, not, we're kind of in a transition. Usually the first month of the summer schedules or the first month of any new schedule, there's still time that some stations might change frequency, mainly because of clashes. Sometimes you'll have a station over another one. One that I've noticed this week is that WJHR, which is on 15550 upper sideband from Florida, is actually clashing with another station. So it kind of makes it difficult to listen to any one of them. And depending on propagation, sometimes one is better than the other. But, that's an example of clashes that can happen. So there could be some changes yet. If you are looking for complete schedules, EIBI space, I like that list because it's frankly one of the most complete lists of shortwave broadcasts. EIBI space.de. They're 80% complete from what I just saw now. They're 80% complete in the list, which means that it's about 80% done. Still 20% of the list maybe to readjust or to have new broadcasts added there. What are my observations on the new schedules? The new schedules on my observations are technically they're interesting. The frequencies chosen, for example, for North America evenings are quite good for most broadcasters. Radio Romania using frequencies they haven't used in the past. Radio Romania in the evening is pretty good on both the 25 meter and 31 meter band. One new add-on that I like is Radio Slovakia. Now has its 30-minute English, easy to understand, easy to listen to in North America via WRMI, and that I really love. Radio Slovakia now at 030 UTC, and they're on 5850 kilohertz. So that's a very nice broadcast. I'm really happy to have Slovakia back on shortwave, easy to hear via the WRMI relay, and it's really, really cool. Another station that just shifted 1 hour from what I see is Radio Ukraine, which was at 2330, now jumped to 030. So, I like the 2330 slot for one reason, is that it was letting me, giving me the possibility to not have to choose between broadcasts. I hate it when too many broadcasts are at the same time because it means I have to choose what I want to listen to. So one evening I'll listen to one broadcast, the other, So for example, if I want to listen to Radio Romania English, it means that I won't listen to China Radio, or it means I won't listen to Radio Thailand because of the many broadcasts at the same time. If they would be, instead of overlapping, if they would be like in different time slots, it would probably be more interesting. So, it's a little sad because Radio Ukraine 030 Radio Slovakia is also 0:30. I love both broadcasts. So it means that I'll have to either record one and listen to another one, or just have to choose. If I'm just listening with my radio, I'll have to choose which ones I want to hear. What's also interesting and positive about that is that depending on the days, some broadcasts that there are some subjects that are more interesting than others. So the good thing about having broadcasts at the same time is that if one of the broadcasts doesn't talk about a subject you really like, you can always switch to the other broadcast and see what they have on, so on. But it's really nice to have Radio Slovakia. Apart from that, we're not missing out on much. Most broadcasters kept their schedules. Deutsche Welle was really wondering what they would do because of the Kigali Rwanda relay that's now gone. And you know what? The Kigali is gone, but they've kept pretty much their schedule. The only difference is now that they're using relays. So I've seen relays from Ascension Islands, Madagascar, France, from the Deutsche Welle. So it's interesting to see that they at least kept. And some frequencies are coming in well. Today I've tried 17800 from Ascension Islands, and it actually came in quite well here. So I think that's going to be a good one for summertime here, French from Deutsche Welle, and so on. And in the evening, they have their broadcast. I think it was 04 or 0500. That also has interesting frequencies for North America and Europe. So, the 8:15 broadcast season for now looks nice. And I can't wait to have the EIBISpace.de schedules that are going to be really 100% done. I think that's going to be nice. Listening right now, by the way, to Voice of America 15580. There's music right now. This is Voice of America to Africa, and they are broadcasting from Botswana on 15580. So if you can get 15580 kilohertz, that is the Botswana relay station in Africa. So coming in quite well here is about S7 on the S meter, which is not bad. Easy to understand, easy to hear, and they're having some African style music right now. So it's an English broadcast that goes on to 2200 hours UTC. With the return of the long days, one thing that I've noticed is the return of the propagation, to Asia in the 19 meter band in the mornings, and all the Chinese jammers. I don't know if it's me, but I have the impression that China National Radio 1, which is used to jam broadcasts, is everywhere in the morning. I've heard at least 10 different frequencies ranging from the 19 meter band, 15 megahertz, and all the way up to, like 18 dot something was the highest I heard. And they're really, really booming in. I don't know how many kilowatts they use on the China National Radio jammers, but whoa, they come in really strong in the morning. So that's interesting. Lots of them being heard. And also I've been hearing some in the 25 and 31 meter band late afternoon, like about now or maybe a little later. So that's interesting. For those that don't know where I am, by the way, because I think I didn't mention it, I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. This is actual correct clock. So if you're wondering, are we live? Well, you have the date and the time on this this clock here, and it's there for a very important reason, not just for me to know what time it is when I'm listening to shortwave, but for you guys to check what's the delay, for example, because you have the seconds, so you know how much delay between my time, my broadcast here live, and you watching it on your computer. So usually most people seem to say that delays are from about 30 seconds to about a minute, which isn't too bad. But if you want to know when I'm live, because I get that question often in between the Hangouts, a lot of people say, are you live now? So the best thing is watch the clock. You'll know if I'm live. That clock is set to UTC time, always. And I think everybody should have a UTC clock on their desk, because if you're listening to shortwave radio, having a UTC clock, you don't have to, do that conversion from your local time to UTC. It's already there, visible, quite easy to check for. So, before I continue with a little bit more news, we're going to go with the check-ins here and see who's on. Driver Films from England, welcome. Might not see how to hang out all the way through. Been out climbing today, a little bit tired now. Well, here the weather's not good for that yet. But wow, that's cool. Great activities. It's always fun to do outdoor activities. Welcome to the Hangout. The Scotty TR6, greetings from Toronto. I have the same shirt. My friends don't always realize it's not a joke. It's true, it's not a joke. People don't realize that, but this is not a joke. And tech guys are very popular. Andrew Pitt, welcome. Hi, Jill. Easter greetings. Happy Easter to everyone, by the way. From Berlin. Happy 1-year anniversary on the Hangouts. Watch the first Hangout you did from the top of your washer or washing machine the other day. Anyway, cheers. I've learned a lot from your Hangouts. Yeah, the first Hangout was something like that. And yeah, I think, wow. I don't even know when I did the first one. So if you say that it's been 1 year, well, that's cool. 1 year of Hangouts now. But I consider the Hangouts more official since I've had a regular schedule. But yeah, that's cool. And I remember that first one was quite interesting and nice. And I had like, 1/10 of the people that are watching now, but it was really cool. Chris in Poland, welcome to the Hangout. Always nice to have you around. Really cool. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate. It's always nice. Let's see on the email and on Twitter if we have people. I expect to have less people today because of Easter. A lot of you guys and girls are probably, with family and friends. Easter is a little bit like Christmas. And I think it's even more important for a lot of people. I was reading this week that in terms of family gathering, I think Easter is even more popular for a family gathering than Christmas, which is interesting. Okay, what do we have here? We have SD Cooper. Welcome to the Hangout. And he just posted a little clip of his of Voice of America signing off on the frequency at 2200 a few days ago of Voice of America. Welcome to the Hangout, my friend. Nice to see you. Hey, Scott, welcome. N5XTC is Scott's amateur radio call sign. And welcome to the Hangout from Texas. Ghosty085. Hey, hi from Baltimore, Maryland. Welcome to the Hangout, my friend. Nice to see you. Noise Jammer, greetings from the UK. Welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you around. Robert Cole, hello from Philadelphia. And happy Easter. Happy Easter to you too, Robert. Welcome to the Hangout. Really nice to see you on. Matt Anderson, I like the shirt. Welcome to the Hangout. I've got two of them. I've got this one that says, no, I'm not going to fix your computer. And I've got another one that says, I'm here because you broke something. And these were actually Christmas gifts that I really, really like. These are the great Christmas gifts, So SD Cooper from UK, welcome to the Hangout. Eric Cat 5E, welcome. I'm on time for once. That's cool. That's cool. You're getting the hang of it now. Welcome to the Hangout. Really nice to see you. And if anyone has questions, of course, don't hesitate. I'm here for that. Dermot. Hey, Joel, just checking in. I put up a long wire recently, about 50 feet long, then into coax and heavily earthed. It works very well. I ordered a SDR dongle, waiting for it to arrive. Should be fun. Keep up the good work. Well, welcome, my friend, to the Hangout, and really cool. Nice to see that you have a good, cool new antenna out that's working well. You know, shielded cables are the way to really, really send your signals inside. That's very important. If you get serious in shortwave, you put up some kind of outdoor antenna. Long wire usually does the job, and but that wire needs to be shielded if possible. Before it comes in your home. It's the only way that you'll prevent all the interference from, your house or your apartment complex where you live. Maybe you live in a condo or something. It prevents all the interference from your home and your electronic devices from actually getting into the radio. So it's very important to, put that shielded cable that comes in, try to find a way where you can pass it through. And, that shield around it needs to be connected also, grounded some way, because that's how it's going to prevent the interference from reaching the center cable of the shielded cable. So welcome everyone to the Hangout. What else does we have news for today? Well, if any of you guys have a scanner, just a little portable scanner will do the job with a rubber duck antenna. I'll give you an example here of such, and even a very cheap one like this will do the job, that receives VHF, UHF frequencies. Something really nice coming up next week, which is the International Space Station that will be sending slow scan television on 145.800, and that will be starting April 11th at 10 hours UTC, and will go all day and all day next day, April 12th also. So 2 days next weekend, where you'll be able to decode slow scan television signals. So the first thing you need to know is when the International Space Station crosses or passes over you. To know that, one of the best resources is a website that is, man, I just have a blank here. It's Heavens Above. Heavens Above is a great website. The address of the site is, just going to give you guys that now, www.heavens-above.com. So when you go to that website, or if you just go to Google and put Heavens Above, you'll see the first link is heavensabove.com. You just do a free registration there, and you input your coordinates, latitude, longitude, or there's a list of cities. You just find your city or the closest city. If you're not, a lot of people live in very small towns that aren't in that list. You can use, the biggest city that you can find that's the closest to you. It's still going to be okay, as long as it's, not much more than 100 miles, let's say. So Heavens Above, and there you'll find passes for the International Space Station over you. Now you need to go there and find that first, because you'll need to know when it's overhead. When you know when it's overhead, what you'll need to do is, of course, get yourself one of those scanners. And you know what? That little rubber duck will do the job to receive slow scan TV. The International Space Station signal is very, very strong. So just this is enough. Tune it to 145.800. Leave it in FM mode. If you have different modes, it is in FM mode, so you don't touch anything. If you have one of those little scanners, you have probably no choice. It's already FM by default. But if you have a communications receiver, let's say like this one, here you have different modes. Leave it FM. FM is all you need. If you've got a little, walkie-talkie, these little 2-meter talkies that you amateur radio guys might have, that's going to do the job. You don't need fancy antennas. Of course, if you have an outdoor antenna, it's going to be better than a rubber duck antenna on the scanner. But from experience, I can tell you this is good enough for reception. You might have to play with it. That's one thing you need to know. When you receive it, you might want to actually move your radio, because as the International Space Station goes overhead, the pattern of the signal changes. So you have to match it, and sometimes by just twisting the radio or moving along is one of the best things. The best that you can do is get yourself an audio cable, a little bit like this one. Put it in the earphone jack of your scanner. Feed that to a computer and download a free piece of software that's called MMSSTV. And it's free. And you install that and just leave it at automatic. And when you get the slow scan television signal, you'll see that it's going to decode images. These are images for the anniversary of the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin. So these are going to be, I don't know if they're going to use the same pictures. I've decoded about a month and a half ago. They did have slow scan TV for that. They had a set of 12 images that were basically stamps. They were like the scanned stamps with Yuri Gagarin on them. I don't know if they're going to use the same pictures or if they have something new. But if it's the same pictures, there's like, I think the set is 12 pictures. I received like 6 out of the 12. And of course, I'm going to try for the other ones. What is probably your worst enemy in the reception of the International Space Station is that because a pass overhead is about 15 minutes. Out of that 15 minutes, especially if you have a portable receiver, you'll probably not hear it for 15 minutes. You might hear it only for 5 or 6 minutes at a time. What will be hard most of the time is to get a full picture, because if you start hearing it and it's already in the smack in the middle of an image, you might only receive, half pictures. So you'll have to try 2 or 3 passes before you might get one full picture. When I tried it a month ago, I'd say that 1 out of 2 pads were half pictures. So, I had half pictures, but usually when it passed again the next time, I had a full picture. I'm fortunate enough to have an outdoor antenna that does give me a lot more of the signal from the space station. Actually, I receive it pretty much all the pass when I receive it. And, the signal went up to S7, S8 on my S meter. And just with a little mobile outdoor antenna. So, of course, plugging in with your computer using MMSSTV, and you'll decode some really cool pictures. So don't forget, International Space Station sending out slow scan television next week, April 11th, starting at 10 hours UTC. So here in North America, that's like in the middle of the night. It's 6 a.m., early morning. And it's gonna in East Coast, and they're gonna go on. So all the passes are gonna have slow scan television throughout the weekend next week. So why not try that? It's a fun project. It's a fun thing to try, and if you've never decoded slow scan TV before, the thrill of trying to do it and actually decoding a slow scan picture is really, really cool. So try it out next week. Global 24 still in a very unusual schedule. Global 24 now actually transmitting from pretty much everywhere. They've apparently had some transmission via Bulgaria for Europe, some through WRMI to North America. It's really hard to keep up with the schedule because, especially this week, I noticed that they didn't update it this week on their Global 24 website. And it's really important because since it's like everywhere. Their schedule is, you don't know when, you don't know where. You need some kind of way to know that. So you guys in Europe had some, apparently from Bulgaria. There might also apparently be some from Germany. So who knows? And well, it's an interesting experiment. Um, Maybe that's the way Global 24 can continue having transmissions from different areas, different frequencies, which means that technically we'll hear them from time to time here and there. Still, I think there's too much music programs. Most of, if I look at the schedule for last week's schedule was more than half of the shows were music programs, jazz from the left and stuff like that. Okay, but I think there could be something else than just music programs. Personally, I don't know. Maybe you guys like music programs, and I'm the only one that doesn't like music programs on shortwave. But I don't know. Also, something coming up. PCJ Radio will have like a full week of programming to Europe. Somewhere around 2000 hours UTC, but I don't have any details, much of the details. But it's coming up towards the end of the month of April. So we'll try to get more details, and of course I'll post the details that I know of on the Twitter feed. So if you're not on my Twitter feed, why not join? My handle is at Shortwave Radios with an S at the end, not a Z. Shortwave Radios. So why not join? And of course, I post all sorts of things on that feed. When I'm listening live to to my radio, I post comments on what I hear and the different signals and so on. So it's a great place to be for shortwave. So that's pretty much the news that I have for this week. Not that much more. So hope that this is going to be interesting. And I think one of the most interesting things here is the International Space Station next week. And I'll be posting pictures that I actually decode on my Twitter feed, by the way. So if you're wondering, and I'll try to do a few videos that I'll post on the YouTube channel for the International Space Station also. Let's continue on. Dryer Film says, got an unknown radio station on 6290 into the UK. 6290 is, let me check that. On 6290, right now, according to the list I have here, what could be on 6290 is 6290. There's nothing written here on 6290, so that's interesting. What could that be? I really don't know. It could be a pirate, it's gone now. Okay, it could be a pirate, 6200, 6300. Lots of pirates use that frequency range in Europe, so it could be a pirate. By the way, talking of pirates, man, Wolverine Radio last night was really amazing signal here in Montreal. I was really amazed. Actually, I posted a video on my YouTube channel where I also decoded the slow scan television. Talking of slow scan TV, Wolverine is one of those pirates that actually puts slow scan TV images in between the broadcasts. So they had music, they had the slow scan picture, continued on with music. So my video that I've posted on YouTube shows you the broadcast with the music. Actually, I show you the decoding on this computer of the slow scan picture. Then I put it back to the music. Amazing signal. I don't know how much power Wolverine has, but it's really powerful. And on the HF Underground site, where there's a lot of people posting on pirate stations, pretty much everyone in North America was hearing it, even way down in New Mexico. So amazing. That Wolverine is always amazing in the power of their signal. What do we have? Yuri, welcome to the Hangout. Did you use mini whip antenna for a scanner in shortwave? Do you mean a little bit like using just the whip that comes with it, or a special the mini whip antenna itself? Well, shortwave is very low in frequency. One thing that's for sure is that because of that, small antennas aren't very good for the shortwave listening experience. So you know what? If I listen to shortwave with my ICOM, for example, I will clip on with alligator clips. I'll clip on a 15 piece of wire to it. Like last night before going to bed, I actually listened to some amateur operators on the 40-meter amateur band. Heard many Europeans around about 0400. I was in bed. I clipped about 10 feet to the antenna here. And man, I was receiving lots of amateur stations on the 40-meter amateur band and lower sideband. It was really, really nice. The longer the antenna is, there's no miracle antenna on shortwave. The longer the antenna, the better it is. It's usually the way it works because of the long wavelengths of shortwave. Pascal from France. Bonsoir, je crois que vous saviez parler français. Est-ce que vous faites des émissions en français? So what he's saying is, would you consider doing hangouts in French? Yeah, you know what, Pascal? Lots of people ask me that. I've had at least 10 or 12 different user, ask me to do it in French. So I'll actually consider doing one, probably, like an out of sequence one, which is going to be a French language hangout. I think that could be interesting. One thing that I see is I have a lot of French people from France that actually watch my hangouts and also view my videos. I probably receive at least 1 or 2 comments in French every month on some of my videos, or on the really like private messages. People kind of see that I'm probably French speaker. So, and a lot of, actually, I have even some people in the United States say, well, you're from Europe? It's like, I'm not from Europe. I'm from Canada. I'm in the French part of Canada. It's what we call a French Canadian. And so, yes, I do speak French, and I will consider doing a French language hangout, Pascal. I'll be checking that in the near future. Also, by curiosity, how many people will be watching for my French hangouts? Anybody listening to shortwave? Anybody's receiving, like our friend here that had a signal on 6290? Anybody else receiving something on their shortwave radio that you want to share, whether you are in Europe or North America? Like I said, I'm listening to Voice of America here on 15580 with some African music coming in quite well from the Botswana relay. Adam T, welcome. Greetings from Northside Chicago, and happy Easter, 73s. Happy Easter, my friend, and hope you're having a nice time. Really nice to see you. And he says that he's got an app in his iPhone called Skyview, and he can track the International Space Station. It's very cool. Yeah, there are apps. If you guys have an iPhone or even an Android phone, there are a lot of satellite tracking software. If you have an Android phone, go to the Play Store, the Google Play Store, and just type satellite tracking. there are a few of them that are free that you can install in your phone and track the International Space Station. They're pretty easy to use in general. Just remember that the International Space Station is often abbreviated ISS. Remember that, because they're very often they just have the abbreviation, so it's ISS. If you are on the iPhone, there's actually even a ISS application. I don't have it here. I'm just gonna check what I have here on my iPhone. I have, let's just see here, radio stuff. Okay. For satellite, I got one called AMSAT, but I know that this is a paid tracking software, and it's the only one I seem to have, AMSAT. But there's one that's ISS. I'm just gonna take a look, because I know a lot of people have iPhones. ISS. I'm gonna check here if I can see something in the store. Track. Okay, International Space Station. Okay, there's there's something called Go ISS Watch. So Go ISS Watch. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it looks like this. And this is pretty much, I think it is free. And it says get, so it's free. So there's this one. Seems to be one. What else do we have? There's another one called PX Satellite Tracking. This one also is free. Looks nice. Oh, here's okay. This one's paid. I don't want to have you guys buy something. So check that out. Another one called Satellite Flyby. So check that out. I think I'm gonna actually install the Go ISS right now. And as we're doing the hangout, I'm gonna check out if it works well. Okay. Go ISS Watch. Huh. So I'll be checking that out in a few minutes. So Adam says he's got Skyview. So there's a lot of apps. If you've got a smartphone, there's a lot of apps to track the International Space Station. Pascal, thank you for your answer. I'm from Belgium, and I'm a shortwave listener. Yeah, a lot of French-speaking people in Belgium also. That's true. I think, France, Belgium, Switzerland are, there's a lot of French-speaking people there. So welcome to the hangout from Belgium. Mark Schmidt, happy Easter from Maine. Happy Easter, my friend. Nice to see you. And happy Easter. Hope you guys have a nice one. Not too much chocolate. I've got mine here. My this is what I like for Easter. This is a chocolate Easter egg with a creamy filling inside. I've got my Easter bunny, for those that wonder. This is my Easter bunny for today. Steve Cooper, Kathy, do you have? Okay, just this one is exchanged. Let's just see here. We have one that's asking something. Speaking of, okay, AriCat5, he says, speaking of pirates, I just purchased a 1-watt shortwave transmitter from eBay, Hong Kong. I don't know what to expect, but it was only £6. Yeah, well, 1 watt is not very, very powerful. That's one thing. Another thing, though, is to, because a 1-watt transmitter, I know that transmitters from eBay sometimes get blocked at the border. So I hope you receive yours. Okay. Hello, my friend Gatos Sidoro. Welcome, my friend. Why in one of these meetings there illustrious your opinion also of changes in performance between transceivers, internal power supply apparatus, and the outside? Okay, difference between internal and external power supplies. For some, well, the power supply is a power supply in general, but there's are differences in power supplies. That's very important. One of the biggest, problems with power supplies today is the fact that they are switching power supplies. And the best example of that is that my ICOM receiver is, the power supply that comes with it is an external power supply, and it is a switching power supply. And it's kind of dumb because it creates buzzes all around the frequency ranges at certain intervals. So I've actually stopped using the power supply that came with the radio, and I've plugged it into my big power supply that's right here on the top, and that's plugged on the battery also for, the possibility of no more power. So if I have a power outage, my battery will take the relay, and I'm going to continue listening to shortwave. You know what? The main difference very often is because when you put the power supply outboard, the radio is often smaller because a lot of power supplies are big and take a lot of space. So that's why no power supplies in the radio very often means that the radio is smaller. It's also much lighter because a lot of power supplies have these big, heavy transformers. So, but the main difference is mostly the fact that you get outboard, you get switching power supplies and linear power supplies. And you want to have a linear power supply because these are not electronically, it's kind of a little difficult to explain, but a switching power supply, what it does, it takes the power and will actually use oscillators to really, really send the frequency of the signal of the power, the AC power, at a very high frequency. An example, I've got a little power supply here that's very small. It's probably big like this long, not much more than this. And it actually can deliver, believe it or not, 10 amps of power at 12 volts. And the way it does that is that it takes your AC power in your home, which is 60 hertz, 60 hertz. So the AC power in your electrical outlets, it changes 60 times a second. Changes polarity. So it moves, from one polarity, goes to neutral, and then goes to the other polarity. So it changes 60 times a second. What happens is that this generates heat in a power supply, and you need big transformers. The more power you need, the bigger the transformer, because you have to dissipate the maximum amount of heat. But a switching power supply tricks this. What it does, it takes the 60 hertz of power and it moves it up. And to give you an idea, my little switching moves it up to 38 kilohertz. So it means that the power changes 38,000 times a second instead of 60 times a second. What that does is that for the same amount of power used, it actually generates a lot less heat. So you can use tiny transformers instead of using big transformers to do the job. So the power supply for the same job, instead of being this big, is going to be this big. The problem with a switching power supply is in its design. Now, it is true that a very, very well done power supply that is correctly shielded can work very well without creating any interference. The problem is with today's economy, where everything needs to be as cheap as possible. That's not the case. So switching power supplies, because of the oscillators, and when you talk, of oscillator, that means technically it's becomes like a transmitter. So if you, for example, take that switching power supply, which is at 38,000 or 38 kilohertz, it means that if you tune a radio at 38 kilohertz, you're probably going to hear a buzzing sound there. Why? Because that's the frequency of the oscillator. And an oscillator, very often with the circuit around it, becomes a transmitter, even if it's not what it's meant to be. It's not supposed to be a transmitter, but it is because of the nature of the circuit. So the other thing is that these are so cheap that very often they have harmonics, what we call. So it means that 38 kilohertz will also have harmonics at different intervals. Why? Because it's not a transmitter, but it's just cheap, so it creates buzzing everywhere. So a linear power supply is the best if you don't want to have such a problem. That's pretty much what you have to say. So a lot of radios still come with big clunky power supplies, but you know what? I think there are some very high quality switching supplies that probably work well, but in general they are problematic. Some that are amazing, my Toshiba computer here. All computers have switching power supplies. That's why they're so small. What's amazing about some of them, like this Toshiba here, is the fact that even with the power supply, it creates very little noise, which is quite cool. Some computers are really noise crazy, but yeah, that's nice, But in general, you'll want to have a linear power supply. It's going to be big, it's going to be real heavy, but it won't send interference through all of your stuff. Chris, GNOME Predict is a great satellite tracking software for Linux. Thanks for that. GNOME Predict. So if you guys have Linux and want to know what to use, Chris saying that GNOME Predict, great satellite tracking for Linux. Thanks for the suggestion. I'm not a big Linux user. I do like it though. I've been trying different Linux in the past few months, and I actually like one that I've kind of fell a little bit in love with is Linux Mint. Not too heavy. I find it really nice, really cool. So Linux Mint, I like it actually, and I bought a cheap Windows tablet the other day, which is right here. This is a Windows 8.1 tablet with a Intel Atom processor, and I actually am thinking of installing Linux Mint on this thing instead of having Windows, which I think could be really cool, and it'd be smaller also and maybe a little faster. Ryan C., hello from Atlantic City. Welcome to the Hangout. I'm located in Montreal, and it's nice to have you around. If you have any questions, my friend, don't hesitate. Cardencha, hello from Spain. Welcome, my friend. Nice to have you around. Recat 5e says Linux Mint all the way. Certain Nicolas, bonsoir de l'Est de la France. And he says that there's a internet website for the ISS, called ISS Tracker, ISS Observation. So bienvenue. Welcome to the Hangout. Nice to see you back. What do we have? Humberto, hi, saludos from El Salvador, Central America. Welcome, my friend from El Salvador. I can bet you that it's probably much warmer there than it is over here. We're really, really having a lot of a really cold winter, and it's kind of doesn't want to go away. Super Toshua. Dear Gilles, happy Easter to you. Um, he says, try a can of Mace One's export beer from Tommy in Scotland. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You know, I'm going to start. If you guys want to send me suggestions of beers, I'm going to start trying to find these if I can, because I know that not all beers are available everywhere. So, but there are a few there. There's a few suggestions that I had in the past that I'm going to try out. Hello, my friend Petro. VA2 XMX is amateur radio call sign. And it says, I have done some research on power supplies. And power supplied with active power correction or active PFC are more efficient and produce less noise as a result. Yeah, and you know what? I'm sure that in these switching power supplies, a lot of them, you know, if they're well done, I can bet you there are some switching out there that probably produce zero noise. It's all in, you know, shielding and having the good circuits. So welcome, Petro, to the Hangout. And actually, Petro is the one that tipped me this week to interesting feature is that there's a show called Am Radio Nation. And that is on the Twit network. I actually know that network a lot because I listen to Leo Laporte's computer shows. But they have one show called Am Nation, and they talk about amateur radio. And in this week's show, show 190, they actually have a bit at the 37th minute talking about the 6-meter amateur band. And behold, while they're talking about the 6-meter amateur band, they are using about 20 seconds of one of my videos where I'm tuning 6 meters. So it's kind of funny to have that. Hey, David in Barcelona, welcome. Back in Barcelona after a 3-day trip and the second QTH in the northeastern Spanish countryside. Took his ICR 8500 and to check receiving conditions. CRI from Albania was S9 plus 55 dB. CHU 7850 was louder than ever. New QRM, no QRM on 10 meters. Well, I'm amazed. A great DX place. So you know what? When you find that spot where the noise level is almost at zero, it's amazing. One spot that I'll always remember is up north. There's a place called La Concepcion, and I went there a lot when I was young. And I did a few times listen to Shortwave over there. Man, you know, there's no neighbors. There's just woods and a lake. There's no electricity. And I can tell you, that is DX heaven. You know, I mean, if I die and go to heaven and there's radio, I want that spot to be like that place. Zero noise and really good DX all around. Hey, Richard from Sherbrooke, welcome. And he says hello to everyone at the same time. Nice to have you around. Aricat 5E, I have an RTL SDR connected to my roof antenna. Do you think I could get the ISS with that? Oh, yeah, absolutely. You will get the International Space Station. All you need to know is when it crosses overhead. And you know what you could do with the SDR is you can also record the audio and decode it afterwards for the pictures. You can do a lot of things. So yeah, it's going to work with the RTL SDR, that's for sure. So Ricat 5E, this time I have a good receiver and I can just key in the frequencies that you've mentioned. It's just an old Roberts. I think it goes from 1711 kilohertz to 29 megahertz. Also has single sideband. You know, these are even old receivers. You know what? That's one thing that I have to say. A lot of people say, what receiver should I buy? What do I need? one thing you need to know is that if you find yourself an old receiver that has single sideband, there's a good chance you don't even need nothing else. A lot of old receivers are amazing on shortwave, and frankly, apart from the fact that they probably are a little more stable today, from the fact that they might have a few bells and whistles that weren't existent back then, the difference, and the capacity of the receiver to receive a signal today and a good receiver of 30 years ago ain't that big. I don't think my ICOM ICR 8500 here is much better than a good shortwave radio of the 80s. It's just more flexible. It has more bells and whistles. But if I listen to something here and you have a good portable of the 80s, for example, or the 70s, even a tabletop from the 70s, you'll hear the same thing that I do. So, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Blasting Zero. Happy Easter, everyone. N2XMA. Welcome to the Hangout, my friend. And nice to see you in the Hangout. Happy Easter to you, too. Sinchi558. Greetings from Ecuador. Welcome, my friend, in Ecuador. Nice to have you around. Really, really cool to have you guys on the Hangout today. So we're going to go through a little bit of the questions that I have here that are some people that send me. One user sent me a question that's interesting because he noticed that on my videos where I talk about radios or I listen to radio, you've noticed that sometimes I use rechargeable batteries, and sometimes I use good old alkaline batteries. And he's thinking, okay, you use alkalines, rechargeables. Why don't you just choose rechargeables? Simple answer, you know what? Rechargeable batteries are great. I mean, when they work well, they're great. If you got, a good batteries, a good charger, they are fantastic. On a lot of receivers today, they actually even can be recharged inside the radio itself. And that's cool. But they have limits. First of all, in their time, very often you'll have more time of radio with alkalines that you'll have with most rechargeables. Also, the fact that a rechargeable usually tends to just drop out. So you're listening to the radio 1 minute and you're not listening to the radio the next minute. Alkalines, it's gradual. You see that slowly the batteries are running down. So it gives you a better, more time to react, first of all. Now, of course, I still use a lot of rechargeables because the rechargeables, and I have to really emphasize here that I use NIMH, nickel metal hydride batteries. I don't use the old nickel cadmiums. These are, first of all, the old nickel cadmiums are bad batteries. First of all, they're very, very, very bad for the environment, extremely toxic, and they don't last a lot. The nickel metal hydrides do work much better. And so, I have a lot of them. I actually, if I look here, these are the ones that I'm supposed to be like charging up. So, here I've got these rechargeables that I have to recharge right now. So I'd say that I always, not 80% of my radios use rechargeables. But I'll always keep one of those around. Because if one of my radios needs batteries, I need to listen to something. Or if I go on the expeditions in the summer, one of the things about the expeditions is that you are far away from everything. And it's not the best place to run out of batteries. So I'll probably bring along the radio, rechargeables. And in case something happens and I need, I'll bring a pack of those. alkaline batteries. These I know are reliable. Even if you've had them for 2 years, they're still going to work. Rechargeables also have that little problem. Even though they are better today, the ones that are called pre-charged are actually much more interesting because they do keep their charge quite a long time. But, you know, I've had too many rechargeable batteries. And what I hate about rechargeable batteries is that the cells actually can run out from, you know, in a way that's not equal. And to give you an idea, you can have 4 rechargeables in a pack, use them for many years. And you'll notice that, you know, one will expire, one will, you know, not last as long as the others. And it gets kind of a hassle when it happens like that, you know. Here I have about, I don't know, I probably have like 50 or 60 rechargeables right now because I have a lot of radios. But I would probably need to buy 20 or 30 new ones because I've been using those for many years now. And rechargeables have a tendency also to not only have problems with the number of charges, because the typical nickel metal hydride, you know, don't believe the packs. When it says 1,000 recharge, yeah, in your dreams, you get 1,000 recharge. In reality, you'll probably have 200 to 300, you know, 200 to 300 useful charges. And the faster you recharge the batteries, the less they're going to be good for a long time. You know, there's a little, I've seen at the store the other day, I was looking at the store and they had 1 hour recharge. 1 hour rechargers are really, really not useful for the regular AA nickel metal hydride batteries. Why? Simple reason is that the faster you charge, the more heat is generated inside, and it breaks down the chemical components. So it means that the batteries don't last very long if you do that. A good, you know, 8-10 hour charge is probably best. That will maximize your batteries. But once again, there's always one cell that, you know, runs out before the others, and then you get with a mishmash. You start testing your cells and mixing up the batteries and so on. So that's why I have alkaline a lot. I tend to have at least, you know, 3 or 4 packs of alkalines, always handy, because one day or another I'll use them in a radio, that's for sure. And slowly now I have to use my, you know, maybe buy new rechargeable batteries. Second question that the same person asked, you've seen radios, and an example that I think I can give is the new Texan PL880. If you look at new shortwave receivers, a lot of them come with rechargeable batteries that are included in the radio. And the new ETON, for example, also has that. These use lithium-ion batteries, which are internally recharged by the radio. And he asked me, do you, you know, why do they put these batteries in, and is it a good idea? One thing about lithium-ion is that they're damn good batteries. I mean, lithium-ion batteries are amazing. That's what we use in laptop computers. And they usually work really well. An example of lithium-ion, this ICOM ICR20 comes with a lithium-ion battery. That's what's in here. It's a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. They had a very good idea, though, in this one, is to actually give me a little, because this is 3.7 volts. But they did give me a plastic battery holder. So if this battery dies, I can actually switch, put 3 AA batteries, and it's going to work in here. That, I think, is a good idea. But one thing that's good is that the lithium-ion batteries pack so much energy that they last a long time. This radio works for so many hours before it runs out. You know, the other day I used it and I forgot I had, you know, because I put a 2-hour auto shut off. So if for 2 hours I don't touch any buttons, it shuts off. But the other day I took off that function because I wanted to record something, and I forgot the radio open, so it was on all the time. And I mean, 24 hours later, it was still on. Gives you an idea that lithium-ion batteries are amazing. That's the good thing. They're easy to recharge. They can't overcharge really, because they have a little electronic circuit that checks that charge level. What I don't like about that is the fact that a radio that has a lithium-ion battery will very often not give you the possibility to have a different type of battery. And the problem with that is the fact that not having another type of battery possible is the fact that changing that battery from another, buying a new lithium-ion is kind of more expensive than buying AA batteries. So, that's why I like the idea of this one, giving that little compartment that you can put regular batteries. I don't know if those radios give you that possibility, but if they only use lithium-ion, that's probably the negative side, is that these, buying a new battery when that one runs out costs a little more. What I also don't like about that idea is that, a radio in general will last, most radios will last a lifetime. The thing is, that specific battery, will it still be easy to find in 10 years? Let's say you have that radio in 10 years. How easy is it to find a lithium-ion battery that fits there? That's also the other thing that you have to think about. That's why I prefer people or companies make radios that still use AA batteries than using those lithium-ion. Andrew, welcome to the Hangout. Andrew Walmsley says, hi, comment on the old radio, new radio team, but on the scanner side. I have a realistic scanner as you have over your shoulder, but I also have a new unit in 92XLT. However, this is prone to local pager breakthrough. Realistic is fine. You know what? That's all companies have their scanners that are easy to overload. To give you an idea, a friend of mine asked me to help him buy a new scanner. He wanted to have a trunk scanner. And I told him, well, you know what? I haven't bought a scanner in years. The last radio that I bought that has VHF, UHF is this, on the portable side. Will I ever buy another scanner like this? Maybe, but I'm not really sure I'm going to buy another one in the near future. So I told him, I can tell you what shortwave radio to buy. I'm not really sure what to say about a scanner, because I know that one of the biggest problems with scanners is that you can have an amazingly good set, or you can have one that's overloaded so much that you're just going crazy. So finally, he bought a GRE. And the GRE, okay, the Burkett BCT15X. That's what he meant to say. You know what? I kind of told him, well, the GRE looks nice. It has trunking and everything, and he bought it. And it's okay. It works. But, after testing it with my radios and all, we've noticed that it overloads so much that on 800 megahertz, it's almost impossible to listen to something. So, I was a little sad for him because he had chosen that one and it wasn't the best scanner around. But you know what? It's not that much of a realistic version versus Burkett versus whatever. It's specific models that are good. To give you an idea, I owned a minimum of 12, probably 12 realistic scanners through my lifetime until now. And of those 12, I owned 2 were tabletops, like the Pro 2006 right here. The other one was a Pro 2022 that I sold to a friend of mine. The 10 other ones were portables. And in these 10 portables, I've had good ones that were really amazing and horrible ones that were just junk. And I don't mean I bought, not that I bought cheap ones. One that was a junk was, I think is the Pro 26, which was the first realistic scanner to go to 1.3 gigahertz. And man, that thing overloaded so much, and it's really realistic. It depends on the design of the receiver and so on. So all companies, I think, have bad ones. And also, when you buy something that's very wide range, there's one trick you need to know, is that the more frequency coverage a scanner does, the more expensive you have to the more money you have to put on it. Because if you buy a very wide range, wideband receiver for not that much money, it means that to do all that range, they've actually done some little tweaks in the electronics that are not necessarily a good idea. So as Petro says, for VHF, UHF scanning, and RTL SDR is the best choice, mainly because of the price. That is true. I mean, I have one here. This is the EasyCap DVB-T FM DAB. This is one of the RTL dongles that everybody's talking about. This is actually a very good scanner. That is true. It's an amazing little thing for the price. And I don't know, this came like for $25 or $30 or something like that. And you plug this in your computer, use SDR Sharp, and man, you've got a great scanner and this little thing. And it's actually amazing compared to some of the scanners that I have that are extremely expensive. Really amazing. These are, of course, amazing things. So, every company has its own bad scanner and good scanners. I think it's not that much of a realistic, but you know what? The Pro 2006 that's here is known to be one of the best realistic scanners that was ever made. Actually, all the series, the 2004, 2005, and 2006 are all 3 great tabletop scanners for the time. And even today, they are amazing. I don't use it a lot now. I have to change the display because the display's almost burned out. But, it works. Sometimes I turn it on because it has pre-programmed frequencies like the local police and stuff. And sometimes, I just want to listen. I'll just switch it on and do a listen. But it's always, delicate, these radios. Just so complex electronics here that it's, always a little curious. But, I go to an electronics store not very far from here. I have an electronics surplus store. That's where I buy all my wires and the stuff that I need for radio. And they have Uniden scanners, and they have a few on, including a trunk tracker that seems to be a good performer. And, sometimes I look at those and I'm like, that could be interesting. Hey, William Helms. Hi, keep up the good work. Thanks. Happy Easter. Welcome to the Hangout. Nice to see you guys. Howard Parker, thanks for your show. Enjoying it. My pleasure, my friend. Happy Easter. It's a nice, really always nice to have this show. We're already 1 hour, 20 minutes into the show. It's going just so fast. So that's what the alkaline versus and all the batteries, the batteries, the questions on batteries that I had. That's pretty much what I have to say on that subject. So 0120 UTC. One thing that you guys need to check, of course, is the regular schedules for EIBI space that I talk in the news. They're 80% complete for the 815 season. Don't forget, we are in the new schedule season. It's very important to know that maybe your favorite shortwave broadcaster is somewhere else. I'm going to talk a little bit about Radio Australia, because in the Hangouts, we're going to have regular spotlights on a different shortwave broadcaster. Every Hangout will have one broadcaster that we'll talk about. And so today I want to talk about Radio Australia. Radio Australia is, for a long time was one of my probably top 5 picks of shortwave stations to listen to. I really enjoyed them a lot. Unfortunately, they slipped down that list a little bit because what happened a few years ago, they switched off that external service programming and they decided to simply put the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation programming on shortwave. And you know what? That's always a big problem, because when you put local stuff on shortwave that is meant, for an international audience, well, you don't get the same results. And it's, a clear idea, a clear view here that these people don't really know what shortwave is. And I think a lot of the shortwave services today tend to have problems because all the newbies, all these young guys that arrive there and have to, play with what's going to be happening at the stations, and they need to, scratch their head for the budget, how much money they put here and there. The young ones that arrive there don't know what shortwave is. They look at that service and they say, what's that? What's Radio Australia external service? What does it do? And for a lot of them, they're going to have the idea that, well, don't we do that on shortwave or not on the internet, sorry, and so on. And they don't understand what it is, and they tend to take decisions that are, unfortunately, a little sad. So Radio Australia did suffer from that. So now we have on Radio Australia the external, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the government-owned local broadcaster. And that's what is sent on the shortwave antennas. Radio Australia, a little bit of history here, and I've taken that from, actually I went through trying to find stuff, and Wikipedia is always one of the best sources. Shortwave services for Radio Australia, for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, started in December of 1939. And the reason they started to have shortwave is because they wanted to have some kind of some service that could send out a little bit of propaganda, because the Japanese were sending a lot of propaganda. In 1939, it's the start of the Second World War. And so Japan is starting to get big in the Pacific. And since Australia is part of the British Commonwealth, like Canada, well, we had to do, everybody needed to do an effort, a war effort. And in Australia, they decided to put on air the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. But you know what? The transmitters were not very powerful. And so they weren't really reaching much. So what happened is in 1941, the British and the Australian government agreed on putting on the air some really powerful shortwave transmitters. And that's where we have Shepparton, which is one of the major shortwave antenna farms in Australia. And what they did is they installed, by 1944, 150 kilowatt and two 100 kilowatt transmitters. And that's pretty much the start of Radio Australia. And they actually changed the name in 1944 to Radio Australia. The main focus of Radio Australia was news, comments, and current affairs programs, And of course, being in war, propaganda for the Pacific and Asia. And it continued to grow through the years and probably reach its peak, in the 70s and 80s, like pretty much every shortwave broadcaster. We could say that 70s and 80s are the peak of shortwave broadcasts. Then there's cutbacks. They had fewer programs. And you know what? I remember when I was 15 or 16-year-old listening to Radio Australia in French in the evening. Something that's, pretty much impossible to hear now. And so this evening, the evenings, Radio Australia, I could hear French, English. It was something regular. Radio Australia in the evening here, even on my old DX100 there, was regular listening. Then in the 90s, cutbacks on programming in different languages and so on, but still listenable, And behold, the biggest cutbacks of all were the ones that happened about 2-3 months ago, and where Radio Australia at the beginning of this year had really drastic cuts in the budget. And so they really use a lot less frequencies now for their external services. Now, I remember when they did the drastic cuts, the first thing that I thought is, okay, we're going to lose the frequencies that are booming into North America. And one of the frequencies that actually is amazing, and that's Scotty TR6 says he listens to Radio Australia every morning while he's having breakfast and coffee, and usually comes booming in Toronto on 9580. And 9580 is one of the very good frequencies to North America, and it is still a good frequency. Thank God they kept 9580 to the Pacific, and we still hear it. So at least that is the good news, even though it's their local Australian Broadcasting Corporation programming. So now a lot less frequencies and times, and I believe because they had like 3 transmitter sites, and they lowered the number of hours, the number of languages. Also, I believe they were taking apart at least one of their transmitting stations. There was Shepparton. Try to remember which ones there were. There were like 3 main transmitting stations. There's Shepparton and 2 other ones that I don't remember actually. So if you want to listen to Radio Australia, I'm going to give you the times and frequencies. And we'll see, maybe you can try it out. So this is for English language only. Radio Australia, from 0-100 hours all the way to 0-900 hours UTC, is on 15240, 15415, and 17840. Hint, 15415 is sometimes heard a little bit in North America. So in the evening, North America. Of course, if you're on the West Coast, North America, you probably have it easier than me on the East Coast. Then from 0900 hours all the way to 2000 hours UTC, they switch to 9580, 12065, 12085. 9580, amazing to North America, but in the East Coast here, not much more past 1400 hours. I'd say 1400 hours is kind of the top time, but West Coast, of course, will go on a little more. So the last frequencies that they go back through is 2100 all the way to 0-100 hours or 2400 hours UTC, which is 15240, 15415, and 17840. So they have a lot less frequencies that they used to have before, in last year. Last year they had so many frequencies all the time. Now they've really put things down to 3 frequencies maximum all the time. So hopefully you guys can hear it. So remember, just to state it again, if you haven't, didn't take the time to write down the frequencies and times, from 0 to 0900, 15240, 15415, and 17840. 0900 all the way to 2100, 9580, 12065, 12085, and finally 2100 to 2400 hours or 0 hours UTC, 15240, 15415, 17840. So basically they use 6 frequencies total during the daytime. So in North America, your best bet is 9580, which is always amazing. I've had some good reception on 12065 also, so that's one to try for also. And these transmissions are mostly for the Pacific and Asia. So, North America, Europe, we are not in the target area of Radio Australia. So it makes it a little more difficult. Here, what gives us a real good chance in North America is that 9580 is sent through for the Pacific. And because of the angle of transmission, it gives a path that sends the signal to North America. So that's why we hear it quite well on 9580. So it is an easy listening. The weekday programs are more interesting than the weekends in general. I've noticed that Sunday mornings is very often their religious church stuff, and but in the weekdays, very often you'll have their focus on Asia and Pacific, and that's what probably I miss the most about Radio Australia. When they were in external service, Radio Australia had such interesting programs for what's happening in the Pacific and in Asia, in countries and islands that we never hear anything about. So good luck, you guys, on listening to Radio Australia. Why not share it with us if you hear them? It's really, really cool. So that's the focus for this time of Radio Australia on Shortwave. So let's check out what we have here. Sorry if I take a little time. Okay, Ryan C. Is there a radio you would recommend for a first radio? A new one, maybe under $200 US. If it can hear ham, that would be interesting, but maybe just shortwave stations. Which one would be good? Don't want to mess with used. I don't know how to fix. If you're in the United States, one of the great deals that I see all the time is on Amazon.com, where they have the Sony ICF 7600 GR, which is an amazingly good radio from Sony. It's a portable receiver. It has single sideband. It has sync detection. So it receives, it's a general coverage. It receives everywhere from long wave, medium wave, to short wave, all the frequency ranges, and FM. So that in the United States, you guys have that is an amazing little radio, and it's not expensive. It's 100. Last check was like 139 or 129. So check that out. That's, I think, is a good one. And since it's Amazon, that ships, free shipping. It's not, you don't have to deal with the fact that it comes from Hong Kong or anything. That would be my first choice probably in the United States, below 200. If you don't buy that one, or if they don't have any more in stock, then I would go with one of those Texan receivers, or a Degen receiver like the Texan PL 660, or the Texan or the Degen DE 1103, which are also good receivers that get single sideband and AM. So you have all these receivers are good for amateur radio listening and also international broadcasts. And so the Sony one is about 130, 140. The Texan PL 660 is around $100, and the DGN D1103 is about $70. So they're not that expensive. They're good radios for below 200. I would say they're good radios. One that you might check for that's in US funds, probably close to 200, is the Texan PL 880, which is the latest from Texan and seems to be a very good radio. This one, though, runs you a little closer to 200. So the Texan PL 880 is a good model to check for, closer to $200. So below 200, that's pretty much what I would say, you know, if you want to listen to AM stations and broadcasts. These are good radios. But I definitely, if you're in the US, I definitely would recommend the Sony one. They have it here in Canada also, the Sony in Amazon.ca, but it's $179. It's a little more expensive. So check that out. I think you'll have something. If anyone thinks of a radio that I haven't mentioned here that might be a good one for below 200, let me know. You know, one with single sideband and you know, full coverage of shortwave. I think that would be nice. So okay, let's check out what we have here. Any other questions and stuff? Starbase 5. Hey, I used to listen to Radio Moscow and Radio France International, and also the BBC World Service, and of course the English language version of the Deutsche Welle. Had 3 Grand Zigs and two small satellites. Yeah, welcome to the Hangout, first of all. I remember what good times, Radio Moscow and so on. You know, in the 80s and that, you know, the Cold War. It was kind of a horrible time, but at the same time, for shortwave, it was amazing. All you could hear, Radio Moscow was amazing. Radio France is still on. Radio France is, of course, not as, you know, doesn't use as many transmitter hours as they used to in the past, but Radio France is another one that's not too difficult to receive. And BBC World Service, if you check out their frequencies, there are a lot of frequencies that are still listenable. You know, here we have 11.810. Around this time, 11.810, 9915, not bad. Earlier in the afternoon, 15400 usually gives an okay signal. So, you know, you still have a few of those. Sinchi 558, I recently rescued my dad's old shortwave radio. It's working fine. That's your opinion about the Sony's. What's my opinion about the Sony CRF 320? I'll just have to check out here and remember what it is. I think I know what it is, but Sony CRF 320. The Sony CR. Oh yeah, these are nice. These are good old shortwave radios, like I like them. You know, big radios. And they are great. I'm sure you're having a great time with that. If it's, you know, well maintained, still works well, I think you're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of listening experience. You know, this has full coverage and single sideband, everything. It's actually a very nice radio. Very, very nice radio. I think, you know, keep it because it's one of the very nice shortwave receivers of the past, actually. And it's an amazing little radio. I can tell you that. The Bogey 101, Scott from Northeast Arkansas, checking in. Welcome to the Hangout, my friend. Nice to see you. And happy Easter. Harry Cat 5e, what do you think of the Texan Eton Grundig, insert brand name here, Satellite 750? All I know is that it looks cool. Yeah, it does look cool. The Satellite 750. And from what I know, it's a good radio. From what I know, it seems to perform well. I'm just looking at it here. It's $300 on. Oh, they got it at $350 on the on Staples. It does look cool, and from what I know, it's a good radio. I think I don't remember who on the that's a regular in my Hangouts, but I think one of the regulars watching this. I don't know if he's right now on. Maybe you can say, "Hey, it's me." But I think one of you guys has one, an Eton 750 satellite or Grundig, because it's also under the name Grundig. And from what I read, pretty much everywhere, it's a good radio, and it is cool. It has good looks. It is the I think it is the Eton Grundig whatever version of the Texan receiver. The Texan. Just to make sure that I'm not saying anything. The Texan, yeah, that's it. It's the Texan S2000, basically. The Grundig Satellite 750 is a Texan receiver. It's the Texan S2000. And they seem to have good reviews. So I think if you get your hands on one of those, I think you're going to be really having a lot of fun. Carol Williamson, hello from Vegas. Hey, hello, my friend. Welcome to the Hangout. Nice to have you on. Steve Cooper says Radio Australia coming in well in the UK on 15415 right now. So, hey, you got it, you guys. 15415 seems to be a good frequency for Radio Australia for Europe. So that's interesting to know. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Has Harry Cat 5e. Texan carries the name of the S2000. A lot of radios are made by Texan or one of these companies and just branded, but with another, another name. Hey, take care, my friend Pedro. Take care and have a nice Easter evening. No problem, my friend. As Eric Cat 5e says, my favorite thing about my SDR is seeing the spikes on the screen. I just ordered a new ELEC up converter. Okay. Yes, it is cool to see the spikes. And actually, it's cool because you see all the different signals around the frequency you're listening to. It's always very nice. And, you see the little spike of a signal that wasn't there that's just showing up and so on. That's one of the amazing things about SDR receivers. They're so flexible in all the things that basically can be done with them and the visuals on your computer and so on. So it's really, really cool. Scotty TR6 says, I picked up the Satellite 750 a couple of months ago on sale at Radio World. Nice performing portable for the money. So you got it here. Someone that owns the 750. David Barcelona, nice spotlight on Radio Australia. Here it can be received just fine. Remember listening to it on a frequency in 31 meters. So great to be able to listen to such a distant station as Radio Australia. Radio New Zealand also came well into here last afternoon. I checked. Actually, Radio New Zealand, I was listening to them last night before going to bed on my ICOM ICR20 portable here. 15720 in North America is great. I'd say starting about 0 to 200 and on. They stopped using 15720. Radio New Zealand stops using 15720 around 0500. And they switched to 11725, which also is a good one. But in the evening here, that's my summer listening. You know what? I have a question for you guys. Do you have a summer station. I'm going to call it like that. A station that in warm summer evenings, it's that station that you remember when, as long as you've been listening to Shortwave, and that you might still listen today. Mine is Radio New Zealand. Radio New Zealand in the winter is almost inexistent in the evening here. But starting now and for pretty much all summer, 15720 Radio New Zealand will be there. And you know what? In the warm summer evenings in Montreal, I've get great memories of just tuning in with a portable Radio New Zealand, listening to their programs before going to bed around 11 p.m., midnight. And that's a fond memory I have of a station for summer. So that's, I would say that Radio New Zealand is one of my favorite summer stations, that I call it. Another summer favorite for me is KBS World Radio in the morning, 15575. So 15575 at 1400 hours UTC, or 1300 hours UTC, English. That's another summer favorite because it doesn't come in the winter here. But now it's starting to get a really, really good signal. 15575 at 1300 English, 1 hour. So I'm going to fill up my glass here. We're at 1 hour, 45 minutes into our hangout. And I'm going to fill up my little beer glass here. And the hangouts are sponsored by a nice little spicy beer, buckwheat beer. And I must say that I'm amazed at how good it tastes. And it is spicy though. You need to enjoy that type of beer. And I actually love it. It's a very, very good beer. And it actually smells good too. It not just tastes good, it really smells good. So cheers everyone. I hope you're having your favorite drink. Beer, wine, coffee, tea, milk. Milk and cookies. That's a good little thing for a radio. Milk and cookies. So just going to check if I've got another question here. Hey, we have Susan in California. Hello. Personal question. Oh, that's dangerous. What age are you? That's a personal question. You know what, Susan? I asked once about 10 years ago, a woman. I asked her age, and she answered very politely, "I'm sorry, sir, but you will learn that you never ask a woman's age." So that's just so funny. But you know what? I don't really care. I'm 46. I'm 46. For the last 3 weeks now. So it was my birthday about 3 weeks ago. So I'm 46. For your information. Is the weather nice? You know what? We had a few great days this week. We had like 10, 12, 13 degrees Celsius, which is like, in the 50s. Thursday, Friday, it was amazing. I took out my bicycle. I actually did my first bike ride of the year. Snow melted a lot. Now, the bad thing is that it became colder on Friday night, and we woke up yesterday morning with like 6 inches of snow on the ground. It was like white everywhere, and it's like, no, please, no more snow. And so, but it's already melted pretty much. And even though it's going to be a little cold this week, we're getting there. We're getting to the real nice weather slowly. Harry Cat 5e, Voice of North Korea is my summer station. Haha, really? That's interesting. North Korea. That is more of a spring/fall station because that's pretty much the time it comes in well here. But you know what? I wonder about, by the way, North Korea. I'm not really sure they're on all the time. I would say that sometimes they aren't. because 11710 in the morning is usually a very good frequency. And in the past 2 months, I think I've heard them only once or twice. And I'm starting to think that they aren't on all the time. I think it was on Glenn Hauser's World of Radio that many months ago there was a discussion. Is it there? I don't remember. I think it's on the World of Radio. There was a discussion on North Korea radio, the Voice of North Korea, or what used to be Radio Pyongyang, and that they had a lot of problems with getting the transmitter working. And they would apparently, sometimes be weeks or even months at a time without transmissions. And sometimes they would, sometimes they would not. So it could be that. I tried today on the 20 SDR receiver in the Netherlands. Was about, I think it was at 1700 hours UTC. There was a Voice of Korea to Europe. And I tried all 3 frequencies and did not hear anything. So I wonder if maybe they're kind of off and they don't have any money to continue the transmissions, which would be, typical of North Korea not having money to do much. So, Kimberly George, hey, welcome to the Hangout. Just about the same age. She's going to be 45 in July. Happy late birthday. Thank you, Kimberly. And so, yeah, well, you know what? I think apart from a few young guys and girls that I see on the Hangouts that I've kind of drawn to shortwave, I would probably think that most shortwave / amateur radio guys and girls today are probably mostly in their early 40s to 50s and 60s. It's, an older generation hobby, I think, and which is unfortunate. I find that the young today don't seem to be interested in trying out stuff. I remember going to the park. I'm the kind of guy that tries all sorts of hobbies and stuff, and I remember going to the park with my nephews, and I like model rocketry, and I have all these little rockets, and you put these motors in them, and it's like they go 1,000, 2,000 feet high. And I love that. And we noticed one thing is that my nephews and I are amazed at that. But the young today is like, they don't seem to care. It's as if building stuff with your own hands is not cool anymore. And it's kind of a problem because, you know what? Building stuff is important. Learning the skills to, play in an electronic circuit and so on is very important for the future. We need people that like that. And I have the impression that there's not that many young today that are really interested in that, unfortunately. So, welcome to the Hangout, Kimberly. Always nice to have you on. And what else do we have? We have Jamal. I hope you have your name correctly, Jamal. That says that I talked about the World Radio Network, and he missed out how and where you could listen to that. And he wants to know if you can listen to it on his smartphone. He's got an iPhone. Okay, World Radio Network, for anyone that doesn't know, is the international network of broadcast stations, if you want. The World Radio Network you can get on the web at wrn.org. wrn.org. The World Radio Network is where pretty much all international broadcasters have their internet voice. And it's cool because the World Radio Networks, it's like one feed where you get all your favorite shortwave stations, plus a lot of voices of the past that are still on the internet. So if you go to WRN.org, you'll click on listeners, and there you'll see that there are feeds for English to Europe, English to North America, English to Africa, English to Asia Pacific. There's Arabic, Russian. What's interesting is that each feed has different stations on it. So you'll have common stations, but you'll have some that are more specific for the target area. So what I like is sometimes to click on North America or Europe or Asia and listen to different broadcasters. And what I like about this WRN is the fact that you have a lot of voices from the past, like Radio Polonia or Polish Radio, Radio Sweden, Radio Slovakia, Radio Prague. Some harder to hear also here, like Channel Africa and so on. So, you can listen to that feed through the internet, which is nice. And yes, you can listen to that feed on your iPhone or Android device. To listen to WRN, I'm just going to tell you the name of the app. There are two apps actually that I use that will bring you those feeds of WRN, the World Radio Network. There's TuneIn Radio, which is a great app, by the way, both available on Android through the Google Play Store and on iPhone in the iOS store. So TuneIn Radio. And all you have to do in the search, you just type WRN, and you'll see that it's going to send you the list. The other one that you can go to is Shoutcast. This one is also available both for Android and for iPhone or iOS. And Shoutcast, same thing. Just type WRN, you'll see the feeds. You just click on the one you want to listen to. I actually do it very often. When I go to clients' homes for their computers, I usually wear a shirt. So I'll put the WRN feed and put the phone upside down in my shirt because of the speakers are at the bottom. So by putting upside down, I hear it really well without having to put earphones on. And I listen to the WRN, World Radio Network feed. And so you can listen to on your computer, any computers. Just go to WRN.org, click on listeners, and that's pretty much, where you can listen to a lot of international broadcasts. The second question he's got is, with such a nice website and audio, why would we still listen to shortwave? Well, that's a different story. I think they complement each other. I don't think that internet-only radio is necessarily fantastic. And statistics show it. You know what? Pretty much every shortwave station that went on the web noticed that there's not a lot of people listening on the web. They had a big audience on shortwave. They don't have much of an audience on the internet. Why? Because not a lot of people actually listen to radio on their internet, on their computer. And also because, hey, you need a computer and internet access. And a lot of these stations don't realize that their audience, most of their audience are in countries where, having a computer and an internet connection is expensive. So, that also makes a lot of them leave, or, they stop listening when they get on the internet because they just can't afford that. So, and it's not the same thing, I can tell you, listening to radio, let's say listening to Radio Romania through the WRN feed, or hearing it on my radio here, is just so not the same thing. Really, really not. And it's, just cool to have a little receiver with an antenna receiving these stations from all over the world on shortwave. And it's, it's difficult to tell someone actually why it's better. It's not easy. Humberto says once he went a shortwave radio with satellite receiver from WRN just because he completed a survey. Ah, that's nice. Winner of a contest. Howard Parker, radio on shortwave is pure magic, but for the older generation. Yeah, there still should be some kind of amazement for even the young generation, because it is still something amazing. You know what? I think it all comes down to one factor, one very important factor. I am amazed at a lot of stuff. I am the kind of guy that is amazed that, for example, my computer right now has a camera right here, that you people are watching from around the world. A guy like me in Montreal, Canada, talking about radio and all sorts of stuff. If you just think of the behind the scenes, what's happening between my computer's internet connection and your internet connection, the bits going all around everywhere. Wow. That is amazing. And radio is amazing. Invisible waves going through the air and going in a radio and listening to some program from somewhere else. And, especially listening from a distance, listening to a program from another country. Like now the Voice of America just stopped transmitting. They were from Botswana. I mean, look, you're listening from the heart of Africa all the way to North America. That's just so amazing. So I think it all goes with the amazement also that you might go with it, I think that today's generation is not as amazed at anything around them. And it's sad, because I think that you have to, that's how you're going to do something in life. That's technical, I go to clients' computers, fix their computers, and have them just like, I don't care how it works, I don't care what it does, I just want it to do what I want. And it's always something that I find sad when somebody says that. You know what? Because I'm the curious type. Knowing or, being amazed at what is happening behind the scenes or with the computer, how it does what it does, or on the radio, how it does what it does. I don't know. For me, it seems logic that you want to know why things work. But unfortunately, it seems that a lot of people don't care at all. And it's like even worse today, because I have the impression that we have all these gadgets, but nobody wants to know nothing of how it works. They just want to use it. David, I'm in my early 20s and I like the older tech. I don't know whether this is good or bad. Regarding North Korea, well, you know what? First of all, David, it's good. You know why? Because you'll be ahead of everyone. One of the great things about getting knowledge on older tech and on shortwave and stuff like that gives you an advantage in some situations. For example, one of the big advantage I have is when I go to clients' computers and they start talking to me about their Wi-Fi signal that's bad. Well, you know what? If I was just a computer guy, I would just give the regular, and I call it idiot suggestions that I see on the web pages all the time. Oh, move the router like this, do that. It may be going to be better. And that's it. But the fact that I know radio and it's easy to understand, that's a radio signal from the computer to the antennas of the router. It is in a frequency range that is sensitive to certain types of interference and so on. And you know what? I have an advantage over that. And in situations where people couldn't find a solution with regular tech guys that just do computers, and they call me and they say, wow, you've got the solution and it works really well. And it's because I have more knowledge. I understand more than just a computer thing. My radio background gives me also the knowledge of, okay, a router and a computer on Wi-Fi is radio signals. How can you make this better? And that's also why I never have problems with Wi-Fi here. Eric Cat 5e, I was wondering if you had many channels. I've seen a few channels with your voice. Yeah, I've got a lot of channels. I'm just going to complete here. There's one thing I want to say because I read David's comment, just half of the comment about, okay, so he's in his early 20s, likes older tech, is a good thing. Like I said, yes, it is a good thing. Regarding North Korea, I think their main problem is that they lack enough electrical power reliably supplied in the transmitters. So their signal drops sometimes. Yeah, it's something like that. I think it was like having the power, you know, to their transmitters, which is irregular and difficult. Hey, Dennis, welcome to the Hangout. Older technology rocks. It's built to last. Yeah, well, you know, new technology also, but it's different, you know. If I look at some of the computers I got here, you know, they're built to last. They're still gonna. A lot of my computers are still gonna work in 15 years. What doesn't make them last is the fact that we want to do things that needs more and more power, and we just don't use it anymore. You know, shortwave radio doesn't require you to have a more powerful receiver today than 20 years ago. It just needs a radio that works. So, but it is true that, you know, there are a lot of old technology that was built like, you know, bricks. They just wouldn't go away. W. Salmanu. Nice to have the Hangout again this Sunday. The weather is too beautiful on the West Coast, so I'm taping the session to listen on my MP3 player later, 73 Walt. Hey, Walt, welcome from the West Coast. Yeah, that is a great idea. A friend of mine, what he would do last summer was take his iPad. He had an iPad, and he would like go in his backyard, have a beer outside, and watch it outside on his iPad. So welcome, Walt, to the Hangout. Nice to have you on the Hangout. Yeah, as Eric Cat 5e says, everyone just wants a magic box that pops out of nowhere. Most people don't care about my radio at first, but sometimes they change their attitude when I explain to them how it works. Yeah, you know, I post on my personal feed. I post a lot of you know, little comments about what I listen to on shortwave, because I have a few Facebook friends that are shortwave listeners. So sometimes I know they'll tune because I said, oh, Radio Romania on this frequency and so on. And I often meet people that are friends on my Facebook page, and they're going to say, hey, the other day you were talking that you listen to Thailand, and you would listen to a station from Africa and so on. And they're curious. They want to know how is that possible? You know, a lot of people don't know shortwave at all. They have no idea it exists, not even a tiny bit. And you know, there is some curiosity from some people. Also, to answer the question I didn't answer about the number of channels I have. Yeah, I have a lot of channels on YouTube. I have about 15 or 16 channels of different subjects. So yes, it is possible that you hear my voice on other videos that are not shortwave radio, computer stuff, gadget stuff, and so on. Part of my living is on YouTube. I monetize the channel, so part of my living is on YouTube. And so that's one thing. That's probably one reason why you hear my voice often if you search for the correct stuff. But this channel is the only place where you see my face, actually. It's the only place where I put myself. The other channels I don't have to really, so I just, post a video about whatever subject. Scotty TR6 says, right now we can easily fix a 50-plus-year-old radio. In 50 years, no one will be fixing 50-year-old radios, but they will be fixing 100-plus-year-old radios. Yeah, but you know what? One of the problems with that is that in 50 years, nobody will have the knowledge to fix them. Why? Because nobody gets that manual playing with things. If I look around, I have the nephews I have one nephew that is if I look all around my family, I got one nephew that actually is a tinkerer a little bit, not a lot, a little bit, but plays around with stuff. Apart from that, if I look at the young today around me, nobody. I mean, at 10 years old, I was, opening up electronic stuff, looking inside. You don't see that today. I don't see any young today opening something to see how it works inside. Nobody. So, you know what? That is a skill. That's how you become good at repairing stuff. And it also gives you an idea of how stuff works. And that knowledge will always be needed. You always need someone that understands how stuff works and wants to understand how other stuff works and how to fix or build new stuff from his own knowledge. And I think in years to come, we're going to get behind for the simple reason that we won't have enough people that will want to, that will be able to fix things and have the knowledge to play around with all of these stuff. I think today, tinkerer is going to be in a high demand. If he goes to school, he's going to be in high demand in 20 years because he's going to have the knowledge that nobody has. You know what? One of the things that I saw here, and it's, I think, pretty much everywhere is like that. They were saying that what is slowly coming now is that we're going to run out of people that have basic skills that are very important. Like, for example, a plumber or an electrician. There's always going to be need for those types of people. But when you look at who goes to the school to learn plumbing or electricity, there's not a lot. It's like something that the young don't want to go anymore. But I'm going to bet you, if you think that a plumber today is expensive, wait till there's no more plumbers. Now you're going to see what a plumber really costs. And it's the same thing for pretty much everybody, Starbase 5, hey, no biggie, I am 63. The best radios I have owned were the small Grundigs made in Germany. And yes, they were all analogs, and I had no problems finding a signal with the built-in whip antenna. And yeah, you know what? These are, analog radios are great. they don't have the precision, of course, most of the time, but you still find your signals and you still can hear whatever you want to hear on shortwave. I mean, my first radio was an analog DX100, and I listened to the world with that. So, these are great. And you know what? 63 is still young. Steve Cooper, I think I will start posting more about my shortwave listening on my own Facebook page, hopefully to get some of their other people I know interested in it. You know what? It people are gonna really ask you questions. The first year I had a Facebook page, because I'm a social guy, so I've got like, I don't know, 200, 300 friends on my Facebook page. And the first year I didn't post anything about shortwave. Shortwave was like a secret hobby of mine. It was my little something that I would never tell anyone, and the only people that knew were the people really close to me. And one day, one of my Facebook friends, that's also a tech guy, we often go to a bar that's not very far here and drink, beer, and once a week and so on. And one day we started talking about radio, because I think I posted a picture and he saw a shortwave radio. He said, "Oh, you listen to shortwave?" And that's when we found out that he's also very interested in shortwave, and he likes older receivers. He likes old stuff. I do like old stuff also, but you know what? He got back in the hobby basically because of me, because we started talking and we started sharing what we would hear on Facebook. So one evening I would post, okay, Radio Thailand 15590, and then whoops, he would answer. He would reply, "Oh, S7 here," and we'd go on, and we'd have an evening of just posting on Facebook and comparing signals, what we hear, and so on. So it's interesting, because I think posting on Facebook, first of all, there's someone in your Facebook friends that might actually be a shortwave listener, and you didn't even know because he never talked about it. And of course, probably not your closest friends, because we usually know pretty much our closest friends, but you probably find someone, So I think posting on Facebook what we do when we listen to shortwave might be interesting. Like last night while I was listening, I posted on Facebook, "Wow, pirate radio station, Wolverine, 6940 upper sideband." I'm sure a lot of people look at that and said, "What's that? What's pirate radio?" And I get these questions regularly thanks to that. Andy Tobin, welcome. Listening here on your broadcasts and on shortwave, using a Grundig Yachtboy 300 PE and using the Entra 99 as an antenna, as I am also into CB in free band. Cool. Looking into an upgrade for a shortwave radio, and I guess a good, I hate this thing because I have to go to YouTube to view the full post. It won't be long, guys. I'm just gonna check, because some of the posts are cut off and I don't read them all the time on the phone here, which is unfortunate. So I'm just gonna go here, and I'll have, okay, using, here we go. I'm gonna be reading everything here. Okay, this is gonna be a stop. Here we go. So, Freeman looking into an upgrade for a shortwave radio, and I guess a good low-profile shortwave antenna will need to be sought. Thanks for the broadcast, and I can see this will be a very helpful no matter where you are in shortwave listening. Yeah, having what I call stealth antennas, sometimes you have to, depending on where you live and what you need. Hey, Jim James, welcome. Hi, Jill. Can I ask, as an owner of an ICOM 8500, do you ever use the programmable tuning steps If so, when have you used them? Cheers, Jim. Um, okay, I do change my tuning step a lot, but I do not I've not used programmable tuning steps. What Jim's talking about is that the icon here, I've got specific tuning steps that are, in the radio itself, but you have also the possibility of programming a step that you want. For example, if here I have tuning steps of 10, 50, and 100 hertz, for example. If I want to have a 25 hertz, you can program a 25 hertz in it, and I'll have a 25 hertz tuning step. Now, I use the preset steps, and I don't see the need for a programmable tuning step, really, because the pre-programmed ones are good enough. They go down from 10 hertz to 50, 100 hertz, 1 kilohertz, 2.5, 5, 9, 10, 12, and 5, 20, 25, 100, and 1 megahertz. Maybe in the VHF, UHF range, for example, there's here, in between, there's 1, 2.5, 5. Maybe I'd program one like it jumps from 25 to 100, maybe a 50 or a 75. But apart from that, I don't really use those. The only ones that I use are the ones that are pre-programmed. So, I'll tune the shortwave bands with a 100 hertz step. If I need to fine-tune a single sideband signals, I'll go down to 10 hertz. If I go on VHF, UHF, I'll put the tuning step up to 2.5 kilohertz, maybe 5. Usually I use 2.5 because I don't want to tune too fast. But I don't never pre-program anything in the tuning steps, and I don't see the need to do so at all, because there's just so many tuning steps already that are pre-programmed that most of what's pre-programmed is already good. So that's probably why I don't use the pre-programmed steps, Jim. Hope it answers your question. So what else do we have here? Shortwave. David says, I have a metallic greenish Panasonic RQ SX52 tape player that still works like the first day, and it will be close to being 10 years old. Yesterday, I bought another Philips SBC 6540 tape player that had been in store for several years, and it works. What's good about these old equipment is the fact that back many years ago, they would use metal instead of plastic gears. And that is a clear advantage because metal gears really take a long time to wear out. Probably what's the biggest problem in everything mechanical today is the fact that they use plastic gears. I mean, plastic gears are crap. I know they're not expensive and that's why they use them. But anything that has plastic gears is just crap. And that's why, cheap DVD players and cheap CD players don't last long. Because what happens is usually one of the gears runs out and it just doesn't work anymore. And it's not worth it to change the gear for anything. So you just throw it out and buy another one because it doesn't cost a lot. One of the things that I've really noticed about that is, I'm a fan of radio control toys, and I have maybe about 15 or 20 different radio control cars. And I had one that I had for since I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. And it lasted 30 years. and I used it a lot. But you know, all the gears inside were in metal. And I look at the ones I have today, which are, you know, cool and not expensive compared to back then, but the gears are all in plastic. So when you use them a lot, you see that the gears, you know, wear off and it just doesn't work anymore. So you know, that's what's cool about these old devices. You know, all these old devices have great metal, you know, parts, and they are meant to last. That's for sure. They, you know, they don't have the same philosophy. Also today, companies have a philosophy that a specific item will last a specific amount of time. For example, someone I know works in a company that actually makes dryers, and he was telling me that the company actually puts parts in the dryers that will roughly last about 10 years, meaning that they intentionally put parts that give them a lifetime, a specific lifetime. In the 70s and 60s, they didn't think of a lifetime on devices. They just built it, and they just wanted to build something good. So they would try to put the best parts possible. And of course, they were expensive for the time, but they would never die. You know, they were like, I remember having, you know, like, you know, a washing machine that would last 30 years. And you know, before it broke, and even sometimes you just change it because it didn't break, but it's like, it's so old, we want something new. And well, today a washing machine rarely goes more than 10 years because it's made for, you know, that purpose. Last 10 years maximum, or, you know, around 10 years. Today they really think about that. And, you know, it's kind of, I find that kind of a little dumb. You know, it's like, we want to sell more, so we're gonna do the cheap ones. And, you know, there's also the fact that people don't want to pay today. We don't want to pay for stuff. You know, I look at computers. I fix computers, and it's harder and harder to justify why I charge an amount of money to fix. Because when I started fixing computers ran for about, you know, they were like $1,500, $2,000. So if your computer broke down and it cost $200 to fix, 200 versus 2,000, yeah, it's worth it. We're gonna pay 200 to have it running again. Today, you go to a client's and hard drive's dead, and you tell the client, you know, oh, it's gonna be $160 to fix. And they look at you and they say, well, yeah, okay, well, look, I paid $349. You're asking me 160 or 170. That's a big amount of money compared to 349. I'm going to buy a new computer. And we're getting into that spot where it's getting complicated. You know, I'm glad to be a tech guy of my age, because I look at how things are coming up, and what I do specifically, fix computers, is slowly going away. People are just throwing it out, buying a new one now. They don't want to get it fixed anymore. So, you know, times they are changing, like Bob Dylan says. So we are at 2 hours and a half in our hangout, and, you know, time still flies. David, on the other hand, I've always had about 4 or 5 MP4 players because all of them stopped working prematurely. My phone is the fourth I have. And all that is made of plastic, definitely nothing like electronics as they were made years ago. Yeah. Plastics are our enemy in a lot of devices. You know, I bought a new laptop. Actually, the laptop that I do the hangouts here is like maybe a 2-year-old laptop now. But I remember when I bought it and I took it home, unpacked it, even though I did pay more than, I don't buy cheap laptops. I don't buy $300 laptops because it's never a good idea. And I want, powerful computers. So, I paid $800 for my laptop. But the other one that was before is this one here. It replaced that one, which is 6 years old. And you know what? Just the plastic of this, even though it's in plastic, this plastic is thicker than the plastic they used for my new computer. And I am sometimes, I'm doing things and I have my hands full. So I have this habit of sometimes picking up my laptop by the corner with one hand only and taking it somewhere. When I did that with my new computer, my fingers went through the plastic at the bottom. I was actually touching the circuit board. So it shows you that, it's really much cheaper than it was. Dennis says he's just ordered the MFJ 1020C indoor active antenna. Can't wait to try it out. You know what, Dennis? I want to know what you think of the active antenna. Let me know. I'm interested to know. It's going to be an interesting thing to see. So, once you receive it, I really want to have your input on what you think of that active antenna. For those that don't know what an active antenna is basically an antenna that has an electronic circuits that will actually have amplifiers to boost the signal strength and so on of an incoming signal. So, and it has very often a lot of little tweakings on it. So you can, some have preselectors, so you can, fine tune the frequency range you're listening to and so on. So active antennas can very often help on shortwave radios. So what else do we have here? Okay. Let's check out who else is on. It's interesting because as I do hangouts, the last time I saw the same thing. I see the number of spectators, and it reaches a peak. And like last time, in the first ones that I did, it would gradually, run down after about 2 hours. But the last one and this one are the same. For that is that the number of spectators is pretty much the same throughout. Doesn't go down, doesn't go up much more now, but it doesn't go down, Harry Cat 5e, my grandmother's washing machine was older than me. Now belongs to her neighbor. Must be like 20 something now. Yeah, I believe you. You know what? My father's still alive. He's 84 years old. And where he is, if I'm not, no, it's not my father. Sorry, it's a friend of my sister's that has the old fridge that was in my home when I was young. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, the fridge we had in our home is in the basement of my friend of my sister's, and that thing is 35 years old, at least. And apparently, it's still working really well. So it gives you an idea. I don't think the fridge I have today will last that. My fridge is like 6 years old, and not really sure it's going to last 30 years. Hey, Jean Paradis, I'm saving my money for this radio. This will be the best ever I had. So, just going to check in the comments here what radio he's talking about. Well, there's a comment here, new comment. Richard says HP is working on a new technology which will come out in 2 years, where we will no longer need a hard drive. The new transistors will each have a memory built in permanently, so we'll never use data. Yeah, well, it's in the technology of the SSD drives. Actually, that's pretty much what SSD is. It's having hard drives that don't fail anymore. You know what? I don't think I've they do fail. There must be a little percentage that fails, but one thing is for sure is that for computer hard drives, a SSD drive, which is a solid state drive made of transistors and capacitors, will be much more resistant than a magnetic hard drive, which is mechanical. Most computers today still are with mechanical hard drives, which is a platter that turns, a little head that reads the data. And what wears out in a lot of computers is the mechanical stuff. So a mechanical hard drive wears out because the mechanics will break at some point. But in electronics, and like in the singles, the solid state drive, the SSD drives, it's transistors. So yeah, they will break maybe one day, but they are much, much more reliable than magnetic hard drives. And you can see it already if you've got an iPhone or a some kind of phone, Android or so on. Well, these are memory. You have 32 gig or 64 gig phone. It's just memory. It's really transistors. So that doesn't wear out. What wears out is the mechanical stuff we still use, the buttons. And very often it's just because it's old. And, I changed my iPhone 3 times only because it was getting too old, not because it was broken. So it gives you an idea that these things are, my iPhone 5, this is an iPhone 5. This is still going to work in 50 years. I can bet you that. But it's going to be useless because it's too old. It's already starting to get its age, and it's not that old. And so, a lot of stuff today are mostly because they're getting old. One question from Frank in Seattle. Are there still VOA radiograms, and where and how do I listen to those? Okay, VOA radiograms, for anyone that doesn't know, are weekly transmissions on Saturdays, Sundays from VOA, Voice of America, and they are digital transmissions. So they are transmitted in a digital format. Typically, the most popular mode they use is MFSK32. Yep, they're still on. The best thing, if you want to listen and decode, first of all, to decode, they use FLDG, which is a great piece of software to decode. And they pretty much use only that software. So you get yourself the latest copy of FLDG. Once you've installed that on your computer and plug the computer and the radio together, you head to voaradiogram.net. There you'll have every week their schedule. And it's important because you have to go and watch there, because they will give you I think it's on the Thursdays, they post the new schedule for the weekend. It's not that the frequencies change, because the schedule is always the same in frequencies and times. It's because it's the modes that they use. They use digital modes, and sometimes, they'll have MFSK32 all the way through. But like this weekend, they had some different modes. This weekend, they used 8PSK125F, which is a very unusual digital mode. So when you go to their webpage at voaradiogram.net, you know what mode they're going to use in the weekend. So you can set your modes accordingly when you listen to the broadcasts. But one thing for sure is that their broadcasts always start in MFSK32. And as they go on, they will tell you which mode they're going to switch to. As for the schedule, it's Saturdays 0930 to 10 UTC. They always last 30 minutes. So 0930 to 10 hours UTC, 5745. Saturdays, 16 to 1630, 17860. Sundays, 0230 to 0300, that's 5745 kilohertz, and that's Saturday evening, North America. And Sundays, 1930 to 2000 hours UTC. And by the way, that I listened to it a little bit just before the hangout because it was just before the hangout. So 1930 to 2000 hours UTC, 15670. These are amazingly fun because they help you decode, different digital modes with your computer and radio, and they are amazing. You don't need a radio with single sideband for the VOA radiogram. This is AM mode, so any little portable receiver that can tune their signal is going to be okay for you to decode the digital stuff. So all you need to do is to install FLDG on your computer. FLDG is a program that exists for Mac, PC, Linux. It has several versions, and all you need to do after that is to hook up with a little audio cable the output of the audio of your radio into the input of the microphone or the input line in jack of your computer. And hey, you set it up to MFSK32. They'll start decoding the modes when they start up. They always have, their bonus mode at the end. To give you an example, this weekend they had the MFSK32, which has different articles. So you'll have news articles. They'll be sending pictures. It's really, really cool. Then they switched to 8 PSK125F for 2 transmissions, one with pilot tone, one with no pilot tone. Then they went back to MFSK32, and at the end they had the bonus mode Olivia 16-1000, or what's called Olivia 16-1K. So if you want to have fun decoding digital modes with your computer on radio, this is amazing. I try to do it every weekend because it's just fun. It's something fun, and you get pictures and news articles and so on. It's really, really nice. So this is put together by a guy called Kim Andrew Elliott, which is a longtime partner of Voice of America. And it's really, really fun thing. So if you guys want to have the schedules, just go to voaradiogram.net, on the Friday, and you'll see the VOA radiogram schedule, the different modes they'll use for the weekend. You just tune and decode away and have fun. These are really, really great little things to do with shortwave radio and computers. You know what? For a guy like me that's a tech guy, it's always fun because putting computers and radio together is always cool. Actually, a lot of amateur radio operators like to tune in and talk in different digital modes. So it's always really cool. Gene says, I love all your videos. Keep sharing, and I will let you know what I hear on utilities pickups. I also love to plot aircraft on HF. Try 8861 for Africa on upper sideband. Yeah, that's also something fun, listening to aircrafts, listening to the different air routes all around on HF. It's always a fun thing to do. You can, listen to the different airplanes over the oceans and so on. That is fun. That's, and you know what? The website, which is, what's the website? There's a thing called live plane flights. Just gonna give you guys what's the website. Website called flightradar24.com. It's fun for that. You tune into the different air frequencies on HF, and when a plane gives its ID, you can go to flightradar24.com, search for the plane, and you'll have its position on a map. It is not total real time all the time, but it gives an idea. It's always nice. It's live flight tracker. There's also one that's for iPhone and iPad. And you know what? I'm actually listening right now. Just put 8861 upper sideband. I do hear some communications. They're not very strong right now, but I do hear it. Thanks, Richard, for posting the website of voaradiogram.net for everyone. Really nice. Cat5B says, I used to get interference from hard disk drives in my electric guitars, but I stopped since I switched to SSDs. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe an SSD would be better for using SDRs. Possible, but there's more than that. There's a lot of the interference from a computer to a radio is also the power supply. The switching power supplies of computers are dreadful for interference. David says, what's fun about VOA radiogram is trying to decode them using the worst shortwave receiver you have. If I am not wrong, the ultimate aim of radiograms is to test if it could be used to bypass jamming in repressive countries. Radios used there may not be the best. Well, you know what? That's why they have these modes. If you've noticed, there are modes at the end, these bonus modes, where you have music. And you have the digital mode on top of it. So, the physics of it is, telling you, well, why are you putting music? You won't be able to decode. And that's kind of a test. By putting the music and the digital mode together, they can test if certain modes are actually better in noise environments than others. And you know what? VOA radiograms, I'm going to test this. I'm going to try next week. I have to put it down here because I'm going to try that. I'm going to use my little cheap Texan R9012 portable, and I'm going to try to decode the VOA radiogram using just that cheap $20 radio and only telescopic antenna. Is that going to be possible? That's the question. I think that would make a fun video to post on my YouTube channel. Using my Texan R9012, and maybe try each week with a different cheap radio and see if we can decode the VOA radiogram. That, I think, is going to be fun. You gave me a great idea, David, with that. I'm going to try that out next week, trying to receive and decode with the cheapest radio I have, a VOA radiogram. I think that's going to be fun. Nice little weekend project for next week. I think that's going to be really cool. Really, really cool. Howard Parker says liveatc.com is good for air frequencies. atc.com. Just going to go here. Okay, liveatc.com. That's it. Yep. .net. It's .net, Howard, I believe. Yeah, live air traffic from the headsets to you. So liveatc.net. That looks like a very nice website. I've never went there. Thanks for the tip. I didn't know about this website. Liveatc.net. If you guys want to go see that for air frequencies. Thanks for the tip, my friend. I didn't know about this website at all. Liveatc.net. Yep, I'm hearing them. I'm hearing some air traffic on 8861 upper sideband if you guys want to try it. Some air traffic on 8861 upper sideband. I'm hearing some comms, so it's interesting. Sometimes I like that. Just tune around, air traffic. And you never know what you'll hear. You know, last year I remember when I was doing one of my outdoor de-expeditions, I tuned an air traffic frequency on the 17.950, around there, 17.950 kilohertz, and came across a transmission from a plane where a woman was having a heart attack, and they were looking at the closest airport they could go to, and so on. It was amazing. You know, when you hear these live things like that, another you know, other frequencies that are interesting also could be the maritime frequencies. These are also interesting, you know, especially for the rescue efforts, you know, air and rescue and stuff like that. I remember many years ago listening in something like 5 megahertz, and you'd hear the Coast Guard. It was, I think it was the Gander Coast Guard, where they were actually helping people in a boat that was on fire. You know, these are all things that you can hear if you listen regularly to different frequencies and transmissions. It's amazing what you could hear on shortwave with, you know, all these types of transmissions that you receive. Cat 5e says that the delay is about 20 seconds, which is pretty nice, actually. 20 seconds isn't too bad, you know. I'd consider 30 seconds or less to be really good in a delay, because, you know, the delay is from different angles. You know, there's the delay. There's probably a delay from my computer because it needs to buffer it a little bit before it sends it out, so it doesn't, you know, run out. There's the delay where you receive the video feed on your computer, and your computer will buffer it a little bit so that if your internet connection for 1 second, you know, isn't working well, you won't see the difference. So buffering is probably the biggest part of the delay. And then there's, you know, the time, because the time from here to anywhere in the world is like milliseconds. You know, there's no, if you're watching this video in Australia, the time it takes for a signal on the internet from here to Australia is not a second. It's, you know, like 200 milliseconds. The buffering is really done at the level of the different exchanges. The buffering your computer does, the buffering my computer does, that's pretty much where it is. If you have a slower internet connection, your computer buffers much more of the video feed. The slower your internet connection, probably the longer the buffering, so the more delay you get with my clock here, which is interesting. So, hey guys, after 2 hours and 50 minutes, we're going to slowly wrap things up. It was really nice to have you guys on this Easter Sunday. I was scared of not having too many people because, you know, Easter Sunday being very a family thing, I thought that probably a lot of you were, you know, in family gatherings. The counter did show that there's a little less people today than there was in the past hangouts, which is probably due to Easter. But, you know, I wanted to do it anyway. So the next hangout, put that in your calendars, guys and girls, is in 2 weeks, of course, which brings us to April 19th, Sunday, April 19th at 2000 hours UTC. It's going to be the next hangout. We'll have the usual news. We'll have the usual events of all sorts and questions and, you know, station profile. And, you know, if you guys have anything that you want to ask, if you guys have anything that you want to share or any logging is something you're listening to, that's good. One thing also that you guys can do, if you want to send me questions in between, you know, I can answer them via email or on the channel. I can also, sometimes I'll, you know, put it down and keep it on my little list of questions I get through the times. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. It was really, really nice. And one subject I haven't talked about that I wanted to kind of talk a little bit, but I will keep that for next week. In 2 weeks. Sorry, in the next hangout. I'm going to talk a little bit about donations. I'm thinking of something, maybe anyone that can, no obligation. We could have some kind of donation system going on. It would enable me to buy radios that I could review, and so that would be interesting. We'd have more reviews and more stuff. But we'll talk about that next week. I'll ask probably a few questions, what you guys think, and we'll see how it goes. So take care, guys. It was really fun as usual. Hope you enjoyed the hangout, and see you on April 19th at 2000 hours UTC. And in between, don't forget, you might have unannounced hangouts, tuning the band, stuff like that. The best way to know is either to ask me if you want to be on my email list, official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Say hi, say I want to be on the list. And there's also Twitter, which is at shortwave radios with an S at the end, not a Z, at shortwave radios. Take care, guys. It was really nice to have you. Happy Easter for what's left of it. Don't eat too much chocolate. And see you next time on the live hangouts. Bye-bye.